major milestone for the Fort Smith community. With the arrival of international pilots and cutting-edge aircrafts, also comes a powerful new chapter for the region's military footprint. 5 News reporter Lauren Spencer went to the event hosted by Prime River Valley Professional Summit. And Lauren, you checked in with leaders about how the F-35 project is becoming a key player on a global stage.
Yeah, Morgan, they say the major F-35 defense project is taking flight in Fort Smith and bringing big changes to the region, not just for Fort Smith today, but for decades to come.
We have the Sound of Freedom flying over Fort Smith.
Those jets you've probably heard flying overhead are being credited with fueling economic growth, strengthening national defense, and putting Fort Smith on the global stage.
There is nothing like this happening anywhere in the United States. There's no other guard base that's doing the MQ-9, the ISR, and has a flying training operation like we do on one base.
Already a critical center for drone operations and surveillance, the 188th Wing now supports a full-fledged fighter jet training mission, all on a base smaller than most. Over 5 years in the making, Commander of the 188th, Jay Spahn, says the project is now marking a major milestone.
Yeah, the first 2 Polish F-35 students are actually finishing this week. They're kind of the best and the brightest from their F-16 operation, and they were chosen to be the first students for that reason.
This isn't just a win for the military. Local leaders say Fort Smith's role as an international training hub could transform the River Valley.
The 188th was probably already in the top 5 economic, drivers in the city, and you add the FMS, F-35, and fighter operation to it, and it's probably going to be the biggest single impact.
Tim Allen, president and CEO of the Fort Smith Regional Chamber, expects this to add $500 million to $1 billion to the city's economy a year.
It could go higher because the mission, as you heard tonight, is actually growing. There's more countries coming than originally planned, and that's exciting.
This is all just the beginning, as panelists look forward to what future generations will see.
This project will change the trajectory of Fort Smith forever.
And that momentum is just beginning. After Polish pilots finish training, Fort Smith is preparing to welcome pilots from Germany and Singapore, with their first arrivals expected to touch down in 2026. Lauren Spencer, 5 News.
Thank you, Lauren. Well, a daycare center in Centerton says it plans to reopen next week after a car crashed into that building yesterday. Little Martians Learning Center in Centerton posted the news to their social media tonight, also announcing that everyone who was injured in that accident is on the mend. They also thanked first responders with the city's police and fire departments that helped after the crash. Police officers on scene say that they believe the driver was a guardian of one of the children at the Learning Center. We are still waiting for details from investigators on what exactly caused the crash. And a Fort Smith doctor facing allegations of sexual assault and possessing child sexual abuse material was in court. Ladero Langford pled not guilty to the charges during the court appearance. He was arrested this week. Prosecutors allege he sexually assaulted someone on March 30th. Investigators then uncovered hidden cameras in that victim's room. According to court documents, the videos on Langford's devices dated back to 2016. Multiple victims were identified, including a minor. Well, new tonight, we're learning more about the 2 18-year-olds facing murder charges in Washita County. Chris Arnold and Keegan Turner were picked up by SWAT in Springdale this past weekend. Arnold is facing first-degree murder, while Turner is facing capital murder charges. Police in Camden say this all started last Saturday when they were called out to a shooting at a home along Lincoln Drive. They found 2 people hurt, and one of the victims died in the hospital. Both Turner and Bradley are also facing aggravated robbery charges. Fayetteville police are also searching for a suspect after a robbery early this morning. This happened at the Easy Mart on the corner of Poplar and Leverett Avenue. Police say they found discarded clothing outside of the store. They say nobody was injured, but police are asking people to call them if you have any information on this. You can find more information from investigators about this on our website, 5newsonline.com. Well, as college acceptance letters start to come out, it's a reminder for students and their families just how expensive higher education can be. Tonight, Laura Painter talks to a student loan expert to navigate new changes with the FAFSA process and the student loan system.
Sean Patel knows a thing or two about stress.
Hi, Sharks. Now, 2400 Expert is looking to expand across the nation. So, Sharks, who's ready to score big off my perfect score?
Since appearing on Shark Tank, Patel says he's been able to help thousands of students get into top colleges and earn scholarships to afford college through the company he founded, Prep Expert.
Everyone knows college tuition is skyrocketing well beyond inflation these days.
An important application deadline to help pay for college is fast approaching. FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. It's the mandatory application parents, students, and families fill out when applying for college in order to qualify for any federally funded financial aid. That can include student loans, Pell Grants, and work-study programs.
It is high stakes. I don't want to scare anyone out there, but it's a really great path to making college more affordable.
FAFSA applications open in the winter when high school seniors start applying for college and stays open until the summer after students get their acceptance letters. According to the FAFSA website, the FAFSA form for 2025 has to be submitted before midnight, June 30th. Corrections or updates must be submitted before midnight, September 13th.
However, I do recommend getting in your application as soon as possible because some grants and loans are awarded on a first-come, first-served basis.
To fill out your FAFSA, Patel says make sure students and parents have their Social Security numbers handy and last year's tax returns. Also note any major changes to your financial situation, such as medical bills or change in income.
Can you explain for us a little bit, what's at stake if they do or don't apply for this?
By applying for FAFSA, there's many times that you can get your entire college education funded through grants and loans and really low interest loans or completely free grants. So that can completely change your life in terms of college affordability for you and your family situation.
Recent uncertainty with the Department of Education, which administers FAFSA, is causing concerns about processing delays. You may remember the bumpy rollout of a revamped FAFSA in 2023 under the Biden administration. And just this March, mass layoffs at the Department of Education by the Trump administration.
Student loans will not be affected. So you will still qualify and be able to receive your student loans because those have been federally funded and committed to by Congress. So even if the Department of Education were to shut down, your student loans would then be administered by another department in the federal government.
Patel also says if you qualify for funds, you should expect to get them eventually. But he says to expect delays in updates, customer service, and potentially verification as you work through the application process.
You mentioned preparing for some potential delays as things are in flux right now. Any advice for families and students to deal with that?
Stay on top of your communication, both with the Office of Federal Student Aid and, make sure you have documentation of everything because, if the loan officer that you are talking to or the person in the administration does get laid off, you want to make sure you keep documents and verifications of every conversation you've had, what the last status was, so that you can update the next person.
Well, the Heartland Whole Health Institute in Bentonville had a ribbon-cutting ceremony today. This has been in the works since 2019 when Alice Walton launched the project. It's located on the 120-acre Crystal Bridges campus and will partner with companies across the healthcare industry with the goal of shifting into a more holistic and wellness-focused model. The building will also be used as a space for community events and educational programs.
The opening of the building is really puts a line in the sand to say, hey, look, we're here to make healthcare better. And our job at Heartland Whole Health Institute is to design some of the programming, some of the education, and really advocate for those health principles being embedded into healthcare.
Heartland Whole Health's first public programs are happening this weekend.